it's pretty disturbing and perplexing to try and comprehend how this investigation that started with an officer being arrested for malfeasance and falsifying public records would end up being rehired and promoted and awarded back pay without a court ordering the police department to do that.
Why do you say that? When you're saying that a court order, so, I mean, the chief does have the right to rehire an officer, correct?
Well, yes, but when it gets to the point that you fire an officer based on an investigation conducted by your internal affairs, so that means that they reviewed her reports that were submitted in this. They interviewed other officers that were witnesses, and they objectively reviewed all of the evidence, concluded that she had violated departmental rules, terminated her, arrested her, charged her with 2 felonies. The fact that she would be reinstated with back pay and a promotion is without the court stepping in and saying, wait, you overstepped your bounds in this. That is what is unusual. So if she was reinstated by a civil service ruling and the appellate courts confirm that, that would be one thing. But essentially, by hiring her back, it means that either the investigation was tainted or the superintendent or the chief did a favor for this officer.
How big of a
Because
problem?
you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways.
Well, if it's a favor to this officer, how big of a problem is that?
Well, I mean, so you have departmental rules and regulations. It appears that that's what was considered when they terminated her. That's what they considered, followed the facts and the evidence when they charged her with 2 felonies. The fact that the case was referred to the district attorney's office, and the district attorney's office put this officer on pretrial diversion, which is a program that's available to nonviolent first offenders, which she would qualify for. One of the requirements for diversion is that historically you admit your guilt going into diversion. So the fact that you had all of these coming to the conclusion that she had violated the law, violated departmental policies, she's terminated, she's arrested, and she is given access to a pretrial diversion program that's only available to people that admit their guilt in this is what is so perplexing, that she would be reinstated with back pay without a court stepping in and saying that a mistake was made in this.
Well, these are tax dollars, though. Back pay and benefits, this is a parish employee. That's our tax dollars.
Exactly. That's why I believe Murphy Paul owes an explanation to the public as to what his thought process was and what the justification was for reversing the decisions that were made by him and his administration in terminating her, in arresting her. And, in the district attorney's office, they don't put innocent people on pretrial diversion. They don't do that. So the evidence had to be so compelling that if she didn't accept pretrial diversion, she would have been prosecuted. So again, every step of the way seemed to suggest that she did in fact violate departmental rules, that she did in fact violate state felony laws, as evidenced by the actions taken by the Baton Rouge Police Department and as evidenced by actions taken by the Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office.
And then the chief goes and rehires her after he was the one who fired her.
Exactly. exactly. And that's the only person that can explain that is him.
And he most likely, I've already requested an interview, but he has told me in the past that he will not be interviewing with me.
Okay, well, he doesn't have to interview with you. He can make a statement, but this type of case, it can have a tremendously adverse effect on the morale of officers in a law enforcement agency where they all take an oath to follow the rules and regulations. And there have probably been officers that have been disciplined for less than this, that have paid a steeper price than this. And that if there is a double standard, that is a cancer that eats away at the morale of officers within the agency. And, this is more than just the chief or Murphy Paul doing a favor for an officer. This is something that adversely affects the image of the organization, as well as the morale of all of the officers that work within that organization.
Well, sir, let me ask you this. I came to you when I did an investigation probably about a month ago about the alleged disparate discipline within the department and the cases that I brought forward back then, where an officer was caught on body camera apologizing repeatedly to a woman, and that is being upheld going through the appeal process right now. And then you have this case. So,
Well,
does this very clearly show a disparate discipline?
again, yeah, based on the evidence that was presented to me in that prior case, I didn't see a violation of any departmental rules or regulations. And in this particular case, based on the evidence that was presented to me, I've reached the polar opposite decision. I think that there was justification if the facts as presented in her termination letter and the fact that she was arrested and that investigative narrative detailing her criminal violations was presented to the district attorney's office, uh, uh, was resulted in her going into pretrial diversion. Because as I said, the district attorney's office is going to review that report, and if there wasn't sufficient evidence to justify a prosecution, they would have refused the charges. And the fact that they allowed her to go into diversion program means that there was sufficient evidence. If she had not accepted that offer to go into a pretrial diversion program, she would have been prosecuted. So
And
they don't put innocent people in a diversion program. They put people that have admitted their guilt, that are going to be given a second chance to, pay their debt without the stigma of a felony conviction.
what about the fact that she is currently on the Brady list? For people who don't know what all that means, I guess number one, explain that, but number two, the fact that she is back to being an officer and she's on the Brady list.
So the Brady list is a list that's compiled of officers that have demonstrated a lack of integrity, whose credibility has come into question, either through administrative investigations or criminal. So in this particular case, there's both present. The department believed and concluded that she had violated multiple departmental regulations. And those investigations went beyond just administrative violations. They crossed the line to criminal. She was arrested for 2 felony charges. So any officers that do something like that, that list is presented to the district attorney's office because their credibility as witnesses in criminal prosecutions is tainted. So she's hired back on the force unless the investigation documenting her misconduct was falsified, then then she is still not going to be a credible witness and will be of no real use in her ability to go to court and testify in any cases that she may make, which is essentially saying that her usefulness as an officer is forever tainted in that. So she's going to stay on that list unless that investigation documenting her misconduct was falsified. And if that was falsified, the people that falsified that investigation need to be held accountable.
Anything else, sir?
No.
Do
I mean,
you, I guess, last question. Um, is there any alleged wrongdoing on the chief's part by making this rehire? I know it affects the morale as you kind of discussed, but could it be more?
well, again, so if there wasn't a basis in law for doing this, then you cannot give away public assets, the state constitution. So to voluntarily bring an officer back when the conduct that she was dismissed for and arrested for would be automatic disqualifiers for hiring in the first place, would mean that she would never be rehired. So awarding her back pay is a violation of the state constitution because she hasn't earned it. And she has, in fact, according to the Baton Rouge Police Department, violated their administrative rules and the felony laws of Louisiana that would disqualify her from being hired. So therefore, paying her back pay would be a violation of the state constitution. So again, I believe that Murphy Paul owes an explanation to the public as to how he reached this decision and the justification for the actions that he's taken.
Anything else, sir?
No.
I thank you for your time.
All right, no problem.